Hello friends, I am from Chemistry faculty of QLS Academy. Today we are going to learn about more types of compounds formed by carbon and also how can we name those compounds. Hope you will enjoy today's lesson, so let's get started with our today's lesson. Friends, in last class we learned that when carbon binds with hydrogen to fulfill its valencies, the compound hence formed is called hydrocarbon. Carbon can also bond with other elements like oxygen, nitrogen, sulfur and halogens, means chlorine, bromine, fluorine, iodine. In a hydrocarbon chain, one or more hydrogens can be replaced by these elements such that the valency of the carbon remains satisfied. In such compounds, the elements replacing the hydrogen is referred to as heteroatom. हाइड्रोजन को जो एटम्स रिप्लेस करेंगे उन्हें हम कहते हैं हेटेरोएटम. These heteroatoms confer specific properties to the compound regardless of the length and nature of the carbon chain and hence are called as functional groups. So, now let's see the different types of compounds we get when hydrogen is replaced by a heteroatom. When hydrogen is replaced by chlorine, bromine or fluorine or iodine, means by any halogen, the functional group is called as halo. It is represented as you can see in this table. Next is oxygen. A variety of functional groups are formed when oxygen is bound to carbon. जब किसी carbon chain में OH group add होता है, the hydrocarbon converts into a new compound called alcohol. Then, if we include a carbon atom to this, it will become CHO. अगर हम alcohol group में C एक कार्बन ऐड कर दे तो ये हो जाएगा CHO. It is functional group aldehyde. Then अगर हम aldehyde में से H को रिमूव कर दें, we will be left behind with carbon bound to oxygen by double bond. This is the functional group ketone, CO. Now, if we combine the functional group alcohol and ketone, अगर हम functional group alcohol OH और ketone CO इसको अगर combine कर दे, we will get a new functional group, that is carboxylic acid, COOH. When the substitute of hydrogen is a nitrogen atom, the functional group formed is nitrile, CN. Now, if a sulfur is introduced before carbon, then functional group thiocyanate is formed, SCN. Here, you can see that valency of carbon is not complete. इन केसेस में कार्बन की जो वैलेंसी है वो कंप्लीट नहीं हो रही है. द फ्री वैलेंसी और वैलेंसीज ऑफ द ग्रुप आर शोन बाय सिंगल लाइन. द फंक्शनल ग्रुप इज अटैच्ड टू द कार्बन चेन थ्रू दिस वैलेंसी बाय रिप्लेसिंग अ हाइड्रोजन फ्रॉम द चेन. नाउ लेट्स मूव टू द नॉमेनक्लेचर. हाउ these compounds of carbon are named. There is a large number of compounds of carbon. So, recognizing them, naming them such that no conflict arise among the chemists from the different parts of the world is all handled by IUPAC, International Union of Pure and Applied Chemistry. IUPAC provides a standard name to every chemical species which is accepted all around the globe. Now, let's start the nomenclature with hydrocarbons. हम hydrocarbons को सबसे पहले कैसे nomenclature करते हैं ये देखते हैं. The naming of a hydrocarbon starts with the number of carbon present in the hydrocarbon. You remember the numbering system we use in our daily life. जैसे कोई single चीज़ होती है हम उसे uni कहते हैं, unit. दो चीज़ें होती है तो हम उसको dual या bi कहते हैं. तीन चीज़ों के लिए हम triple यूज़ करते हैं, 4 के लिए quadruple यूज़ करते हैं. उसी तरह से in chemistry also we have distinct terms for numbers. So the term used for hydrocarbon having one carbon starts with meth. Similarly, for 2 carbon it is eth, for 3 prop, for 4 bute, pent, for 5 hex, for 6 and so on. We know that there are 2 types of hydrocarbons, saturated and unsaturated. The saturated hydrocarbons are called as alkane and suffix -ane is used for them. For example, a saturated hydrocarbon with 1 carbon is called as methane. Meth for 1 carbon and ane because it is an alkane. Other alkanes are also named in this way only. The unsaturated hydrocarbons containing at least one double bond are called as alkene and for them suffix -ene is used. For example, an unsaturated hydrocarbon with two carbons bound by a double bond is called as ethene. Eth for two carbons and ene for being an alkene. While the unsaturated hydrocarbons containing at least one triple bond is called as alkyne, and for them suffix "ine" is used. For example, the unsaturated hydrocarbon with 3 carbon containing one triple bond is called as propyne. Prop for being 3 carbons and "ine" because it is an alkyne. So, the names of alkanes, alkenes and alkynes are divided in two parts. First part representing the number of carbon atoms present in them, and the second part tells about the type of bonding involved. Now, let's see how the carbon compounds containing functional groups are named. The presence of a functional group is either presented as prefix or as suffix. Like when a halogen is the functional group, the name of the halogen is written before the name of the carbon chain. Like अगर प्रोपेन है, प्रोपेन के साथ अगर एक हाइड्रोजन को रिप्लेस करके एक क्लोरीन एटम कंबाइन हो रहा है तो हम इसका नाम कैसे लिखेंगे? क्लोरोप्रोपेन. हमारा हैलो फंक्शनल ग्रुप है, हम उसे पहले लिखेंगे, देन कम्स द पेरेंट कार्बन चेन विच इज प्रोपेन. सिमिलरली अगर एक ब्रोमीन रिप्लेस कर रहा है हाइड्रोजन को तो हम इसे लिखेंगे ब्रोमोपेंटेन. ब्रोमो because it is a bromine which is replacing a hydrogen atom from a pentane. The other functional groups, alcohol, aldehyde, ketone, carboxylic acids are all added as suffix. Suffix -ol is used for alcohol like propanol. Suffix -ul is used for aldehyde like in propanol. Suffix -on is used for ketone like propanone, and suffix oic acid is used for the carboxylic acids like propanoic acid. To name the functional group as suffix, the name of the carbon chain have to be modified by substituting the final E with an appropriate suffix. कोई भी कार्बन चेन है लाइक प्रोपेन है, हमें उसमें कीटोन ग्रुप ऐड किया है तो हम इसके नेमिंग कैसे करेंगे? प्रोपेन, उसमें से हम लास्ट में जो ई है, जो ई अल्फाबेट है, हम उसे रिप्लेस करेंगे विथ ओन because it is combined with ketone. So what we will get? We get propanone. Now, we are going to talk about homologous series. We know that carbon atoms can be linked together to form a chain of varying lengths. We also know that hydrogen from these carbon chains can be replaced by any of the functional groups. The presence of a functional group dictates the properties of the compound regardless of the length of the carbon chain. For example, methanol, ethanol, propanol all contain alcohol functional group. All of these are alcohols and have a very similar chemical properties. This type of series of compounds in which the same functional group substitutes for hydrogen in a carbon chain is called as homologous series. These series contain the same functional group but differ in the length of the carbon chain. Like the homologous series of alcohol, methanol, ethanol, propanol, all are containing the alcohol functional group, but each successive member contains one extra CH2 group. The members differ in their CH2 count. जैसे जैसे हम आगे बढ़ते जाते हैं, जैसे हम इथेनॉल से प्रोपेनॉल पे आए तो इथेनॉल और प्रोपेनॉल के बीच में CH2 ग्रुप का अंतर है. सिमिलरली प्रोपेनॉल और इथेनॉल के बीच में भी एक CH2 ग्रुप का फर्क है. CH2 का डिफरेंस सभी होमोलोगस सीरीज में देखने को मिलता है, whether it be an alkene, alkyne, alcohol or carboxylic acid. While counting the number of carbons and hydrogen for a homologous series, the ones part of the functional group are left out. जब भी हम किसी पैरेंट चेन की काउंटिंग करते हैं या फिर होमोलोगस सीरीज में हम कार्बन्स की काउंटिंग करते हैं, उस टाइम अगर फंक्शनल ग्रुप में कोई कार्बन इन्वॉल्व है हम उसे काउंट नहीं करते हैं, लाइक द वंस इन्वॉल्व्ड इन कीटोन, involved in aldehyde or carboxylic acids. From here, we can deduce the general formula for an alkene and alkyne, which can be written as CnH2n, where n denotes number from 2, 3, 4 and so on. So, अगर हम इस फॉर्मूला में, ये जनरल फार्मूला है, हम इसमें सपोज हम 2 रखते हैं, तो क्या फॉर्मूला, तो हमें क्या फाइनल फार्मूला मिलेगा? C2H2 multiplied by 2. So, we will get the final formula C2H4, which is the formula for ethene. Similarly, we can also find out formula for alkanes. The general formula for alkanes can be written as CnH2n plus 2, where N can be 1, 2, 3 and so on. So, अगर हम इसमें N की value put करें, suppose we are putting the value of N equal to 1. So, what we will get? C1H2 plus 2. So, the final formula we will get is CH4, which is the formula for methane and alkane. As we move forward in a homologous series, the number of carbon and hydrogen increases. So, obviously, the molecular mass of the compound will also increase. अगर किसी compound में उसके number of atoms increase हो रहे हैं, तो obviously उसका mass भी increase होगा. So, as the molecular mass increases, the gradation in the physical properties can be observed. The melting and boiling points increases with the increasing molecular mass. जो चीज़ जितना heavy होगा, उसकी properties भी उसी तरह से define होंगी. So, जब उसके molecular mass increase होता है, तो उसका boiling and melting point भी increase होता है. Other physical properties like solubility in a particular solvent also show similar type of gradation. But the chemical properties, which are determined solely by the functional group attached, remain similar throughout the homologous series. So friends, this was all for today's class. Today we learned about naming the different types of compounds of carbon. Nomenclature is a very important aspect in chemistry and also in any other field. It maintains uniformity and avoids chaos. What we learned today is very basic. In higher classes, if you opt, we'll learn to name the most complex chemical species. Hope you had fun naming carbon compounds. In next class, we will discuss about the chemical properties of carbon compounds. If you have any doubt or need any further information, you can always visit the following given link.